I've got 5:15 on August 25th. We're in the Tom Baker Room of the City County Building. This will be the Board of City Commissioners' regular meeting. Before we start the meeting, though, if the chaplain would be willing to come forward, Chaplain Crawley, for invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Bow your heads, please. Father, we come before you today with gratitude for the gift of community and the responsibility entrusted to these commissioners. We ask for your wisdom that is pure, peace-loving, and steady, guiding every decision and discussion made in this room. Grant clarity of mind, unity of purpose, and a spirit of humility. Help each leader here to seek the good of our city above all else, protecting the vulnerable, strengthening families, and stewarding resources with integrity. Remind us all to approach our responsibilities with the spirit of humility and dedication to justice. May the choices made here tonight foster safety, growth, and prosperity across our city. Bless our citizens, our first responders, our educators, and every household represented in this community. Let your peace rest on our city, and let your presence shape our work today. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. All right, we will call the meeting. Can we call roll, please, to call the meeting to order?
Commissioner Risch?
Here.
Commissioner Dahl? Here. Commissioner Connolly?
Here.
Commissioner Hull?
Here.
Mayor Schmitz?
Here. Our first item is public comment. At this point in time, we have public comment for anything on the agenda, the consent agenda or the regular agenda that's not a public hearing or the prior meeting's agenda. Anyone who wishes to speak, please come forward, identify yourself and the topic to which you are speaking, and also sign in. A second call for public comment. A third and final call for public comment. Public comment period is now closed as I see no one coming forward and hear no one online. Commissioners, what are your wishes with regard to the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yes, I'd like to pull item E1 has to do with the airport website tool, and item I1 has to do with the public notice, call for a public hearing on the regulations for motorized scooters and motorcycles. E1 and I1.
All right. Any others?
I had a question on K2, if we're at that point in the meeting.
You wish to pull that so we can have discussion?
I just have a question on it. If that requires pulling
I
it, then
think it would require
then
to
yes,
pull
please.
it.
Which one?
K2, selling fleet vehicles. Selling fleet vehicles, K2.
Okay. Anything else? If not, what are your wishes to the rest of the consent agenda excluding E1, I1, and K1, which we'll address later?
Mr. Mayor, was it the, excuse me, you're right.
Okay.
K2.
K2. Oh, I'm sorry. I noted the wrong one.
right.
Thank you.
Approve. Approve as, yeah. As
Okay.
presented.
I move to approve the consent agenda, pulling items E1, I1, and K2.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll on those items.
Commissioner Dahl?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Hull?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. Commissioner Risch.
Okay, I pulled the E1. That has to do with adding a tool to our website, flight search engine. It'd be $28,000 the first year, $25,000 a year thereafter. We need to look at this a little closer. It's a pretty expensive thing. I don't know if it's going to provide much benefit, and we've got an airport to bid. So I want to pull that, and we'll go back to the airport. I'll meet with the airport staff, and we'll talk about it some more.
Well, Commissioner, it's in your portfolio, so if that's your recommendation, I guess I would support you.
You need a motion?
We should, if we pulled it, Julie, what do we need to do? He wants to send it back, he wants to go back to the airport staff and discuss it further and vet it further. So do we need to have a action?
I think the best course of action would just be to move it to a different commission agenda.
Do what?
Move this item to a different commission agenda.
It might be quite some times. I'm not going to pick a date.
Oh. So you want to
we
so
just
Commissioner,
Can we
do you
just-
want to
I'll
table
we
move
this?
just
that,
table
I'll
it?
move the,
Okay,
okay, what's that?
we can table it. You can move to table it.
I'll move to table item E1.
Give me a second.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Hull?
Yes.
Commissioner Rish?
Yes.
Commissioner Dahl?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. Commissioner Rish, you have I-1 as well that you had pulled.
Right, I pulled I-1 just to bring some attention to it. We're working on an ordinance concerning e-bikes, scooters, e-motorcycles. We've been working with the police department, the legal department. Want to give a shout out to Sergeant Bleth and Officer Horn. They've been doing outreach in the community, trying to educate people on these e-bikes that some of them are going far too fast and not being ridden in a responsible manner, and some of the children are just too young to be riding them. So we've been working on this ordinance, and Mandan is working on an ordinance as well. So, and we're trying to make them both pretty consistent, because some of these e-bikes, they go across the bridge, back and forth across the river. The reason I'm bringing it up, and of course I'm going to move that we approve this for public hearing at the next meeting, is just so we get more attention to it. Mandan is working on theirs. I've got an email from Mandan. There's been an article in the Bismarck Tribune about it, and there seems to be some public information about it, and I haven't seen that on our end. I'll tell you what happened. Sergeant Bleth and Officer Horn were down in Solheim School, and they were by the walking trail, and all these people coming back and forth with these e-bikes, and they're stopping them and inspecting the bikes and giving them a certificate about their bikes and whatnot. Here comes this about 12, 13-year-old guy wheeling right by the two officers, and I go, whoa, and Officer Bleth called them over, and they did an excellent job. I want to give a shout out to those two officers. But I've been getting a lot of feedback, mostly about people concerned. They're walking on walking trails, and they're getting almost run over on walking trail sidewalks, this, that, and the other. And then I've got some feedback, too, that this is a mode of transportation that a lot of people depend on, very inexpensive mode of transportation. So we have to get it right, and I want as much input as we possibly can. So whoever's watching on TV or whatever it is, if you've got some suggestions, please go to the agenda to tonight's meeting. You can see the proposed draft ordinance and look it over and give us some feedback. And then, if possible, come to the meeting on September 8th and give us some more recommendations. We want to get it right. Of course, we can always amend it after the fact, but we want to get it as right as we can initially. With that, I'll move we approve item I-1.
Second for discussion
Okay.
on it.
Okay.
I concur with what Commissioner Rish said. I have been taking a significant amount of calls on this as well, and neighbors talking to me. My front picture window faces Hillside Park. The walkway going up 19th Street is significant. We have those little motorcycles with the wider tires. There's people riding up to those, and I mean, there's no slowdown for them going into the park. I've seen them almost hit dogs and people, and that I've made some calls through our, by the time police can respond, they're long gone. But we've also had a significant amount of regular vehicles, like people are giving themselves permissions to drive on the parking paths and things too. It's, but the e-bikes, you can see a lot when you live across the street from a park. And I've been taking on calls from business owners too, so I concur everything he says, so.
Commissioner Hall.
I did have one question. I don't know if it'd be to you, Julie, or who, but it's section 12-11-01. I was just, I'm not, attorney, so maybe I'm misreading it, but the way I read it looked like e-bikes aren't included with motorized bikes, and thus it, I believe it was talking about, obeying traffic laws. So is that covered in a different area where e-bikes need to obey traffic laws?
So I'm glad you brought this up, Commissioner and Mayor and Commissioners. So the legislature specifically excluded electronic or electric bicycles from motorized bicycles. There are technical differences that I will let Sergeant Bleth explain if we need to. I've already warned him that he might be called up for this. So bicycles these e-bikes are included in the bicycle section, and bicycles and operators are expected to obey the traffic rules. We've looked into having special rules, especially for minors regarding speeds and equipment that they need to have. But yes, they would be expected to obey the traffic rules.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Commissioner Conley.
One additional thing I forgot to mention because it came up during a park board meeting, but the park board district has some electric bikes that they have like down at Saratoma, and that needs to be part of the discussion. We need to get it right, but we also need to be respectful for the things that they do provide the community in a good way.
Commissioner Risch.
Just one final comment. The West Fargo School District just banned all electric scooters and bikes from the grade schools and the middle schools. There's action being taken all across the country. Children have died from accidents with these things, so we need to tighten things up a bit.
Okay, and I know Dickinson recently passed an ordinance similar in nature. I think if you look through, when you look online at the ordinance that's drafted, it does call out electric bicycles that are pedal driven, but also have motorized mechanisms on them with ages and ratings in the new proposed ordinance. So we are trying to address it, but I'm glad you brought this conversation up because this is a topic that I think is going to get far more, we need far more comment on if we are going to get it right. So Commissioner Dahl.
Yeah, just wanted to point out, Mayor, that there are 3 different classes of bikes that are addressed in this statute, and it's important to understand what the different classes are and how they are classified. So please take a look at that because a Class 1 and a Class 2 are very different than a Class 3 bike. Very different use cases, very different regulations that we are putting in place here. So be mindful of that when you're reading it.
Yep. So with that, do we have any other discussion or comments? Go ahead, Commissioner.
I would just add potentially putting in place because we haven't made any decision yet.
Yep. That's the call for public hearing for next meeting, excuse me. All right, we have a motion and a second on the table to call the public hearing. I will call roll.
Commissioner Hull,
Yes.
Commissioner Risch,
Yes.
Commissioner Dahl,
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly,
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz.
Yes. Commissioner Hall, K2, you have pulled that for discussion.
Yes, let's see. So I just had a question, because I was looking at some of the ages of the vehicles, or not, well, the ages, but also, the mileage. None of them broke 100,000 miles, which, I don't know, my experience as an archaeologist, we always got secondhand ourselves, which we never got anything under 100,000 miles. So I was just wondering the reason we're getting rid of them at this stage.
So can I
I
Commissioner, you want to address that?
Well, I'm new to the portfolio, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, but we have a replacement policy in the city based on age, miles, hours on the meters, things of that nature. Years ago, the city would wear things out, and they were of no value when, I'm stealing his thunder, no value when it came time to sell them. But now we have a more frequent way in which we sell them. We get some pretty darn good prices. One of the things that I'm kind of ask questions about, though, I know the Public Works uses gov.bid or what's the place you
govdeals.com.
Govdeals.com. The airport takes them to Fargo, I think. The police generally sells them at their regular annual sale. So there are different ways in which we do that. And on any given day, you'd get the best price at one place or the other. So, but maybe you can explain that.
Mayor, Commissioners, yes, that is the goal, is to maximize the rate of return on the vehicles. If you drive them into the ground, a lot of times you don't get the return on your investment. So you're trying to maximize the time frame, keep them as long as you can, and still get a good rate of return when you're selling them. A lot of the vehicles are over the 10-year threshold, and sometimes once they hit that 10-year threshold, the availability of parts is limited. And so once we get to that point, we try to move them down the road if we could.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I can attest, I was interested in one actually about a year and a half ago. So I said, I'll go on the gov.deals, right, and bid on it. Wow, we've got like more than they could have got at a car lot for the thing. And I'm good for the city, but I thought, wow, maybe get a real deal on this sort of thing, but we get some good money for it.
Okay, so we need to take action on this item to either approve it or,
Move to approve.
Second.
is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Dahl?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Hull?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. Moving to the regular agenda, item A, public hearing on ordinance 6675, annexation of Block 2, Northern Sky, second edition, first replat. Daniel.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. This is an annexation request from Wilmette Development LLC for Block 2 Northern Sky, second edition, first replat. Location of the site in question is in the north side of Bismarck, west of North Washington Street, north of Ashcooley Drive. It is completely surrounded by city limits presently, so even the right-of-ways of Northern Sky Drive and Wilkinson Place are currently annexed into the city. The intent would be to annex this property to extend municipal services and develop office and commercial uses on this site. It is within our priority area, within our urban service area boundary and our growth phasing plan. Basically saying this is a high priority to annex in the short term. There is a development agreement in place that would annex this property by February 25th of 2030 if there were no action taken in advance. So this would be in ahead of that schedule. The Planning and Zoning Commission did hold a public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry, no, they didn't hold a public hearing. They considered this request at their last meeting on June 24th, and they did vote to recommend approval to you. So based on the findings in your staff report, we do recommend approval of this annexation of all of Block 2, Northern Sky, second edition, first replat.
Any questions of Daniel? Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak to this item, please come forward, identify yourself, and sign in. A second call for public comment. A third and final call for public comment. Public comment period is now closed. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Commissioner Dahl?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Hull?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. Moving to item B, public hearing on ordinance 6679, a zoning map amendment and for Paradise Valley, third edition and preliminary subdivision plot. Daniel.
Mayor, Commissioners, EWR Bismarck Paradise Valley LLC is making this request for approval of a zoning map amendment. It's currently RM30 residential for that entire area. They would request to change to CX commercial mixed use and RM residential multifamily on splitting the site in two. And also a preliminary subdivision plat. This would be titled Paradise Valley Third Edition. This one is in South Bismarck along the south side of Burley Avenue between Rutland Drive and Boston Drive, as you can see in yellow on the map on the screen. The essential purpose of the subdivision is to create these two lots for differentiation of the zoning. The south side would be the multifamily development. There are already townhouses that are constructed on that lot. The north side would be for future development in the immediate future, mixed-use development, ground floor commercial sites with residential above and a community center on that as well. The CX district would support their proposed development. So you may be wondering why you were seeing the preliminary plat. This is the first preliminary plat that has come before you. In the new land development code, the preliminary plat goes to both the Planning Commission and the City Commission, and then the final plat with all the technical details of a survey level of detail is administratively handled as long as it matches what you've approved in the preliminary plat. So that's a slightly different process from what you might be used to. The findings that are contained in your staff report do support the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission and staff to approve the zoning map amendment, and I'll repeat it again, from the RM30 residential to the CX commercial mixed use and RM residential multifamily zoning districts, and the preliminary subdivision plat titled Paradise Valley 3rd Edition.
Any questions for Daniel? I think I would like you to point out the reason for the change and when the plat is coming forward was to help expedite development, correct?
Yes, that's right. This moves the process forward at about a month faster than it would normally. And really the intent is to focus, the preliminary plat really shows you the big picture where everything is going with the existing conditions. The final plat is showing you all the survey level details. And so if we can get the preliminary plat approved by you, it gives more assurance to the developer to get working on the higher level details.
With the intent of trying to speed the process up and create a little efficiency.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Conley.
Now, we've had several projects go up where neighbors didn't feel like they had proper notice on what those potential outcomes might be. Does this make it harder for them to be informed, or is there a process for them?
So the notice requirements haven't changed, and so I didn't mention that in our in this report. But we did have put up a sign, and letters were sent out to the same 350 feet distance. Bismarck Tribune published legal ad notices for this hearing that was held tonight and the previous one with the Planning Commission. So that is still happening with the zoning changes, and so it's just really the sequence. We're holding the public hearing with a preliminary plat, and then the final plat, we can just work on the details.
Okay, well, and thank you for that answer, but to also carry on with that is that in this area, or this particular project, I mean, that's a lot of developable land around it, so it's not likely that something comes up. But in the more established areas, it's something that people, the little nuance, they might feel like when a project goes in after the fact, they might feel they weren't notified, and that's when it gets uncomfortable here.
Yeah.
We've been there.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, any other questions for Daniel? Not, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak, please come forward, identify yourself, and sign in. A second call for public comment. A third and final call for public comment. Seeing no one and hearing no one online, I'll close public comment period. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Hull?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Dahl?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. Item C is to consider a request to continue, again, the public hearing on ordinance 6678 related to the ordinances around alcoholic beverages, et cetera. So this is a request to continue so that we can get it properly noticed.
I'll move that we continue it till the next meeting. Item
Second.
3C.
Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Commissioner Hull?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Dahl?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. Item D is a public hearing to approve a non-exclusive right-of-way occupation agreement with Metro Fiber Net LLC. Gabe, you've got this?
I'll start this.
Okay.
Evening, Mayor and Commissioners. After my short introduction here, we'll have a representative from MetroNet who will come up and speak to their service offerings that they plan on providing to this community if this franchise or this right-of-way occupancy agreement is approved. And then I would recommend a public hearing after that is concluded, and then I'll be available for any questions that you'd have prior to any decisions that are made.
All right.
All right. Hello, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Jill Cordes. I am with MetroNet Fiber Optics. Can you hear me all right? Perfect. I wanted to share a little bit about MetroNet and what we would be bringing to your community for fiber optics for both internet and telephone services. MetroNet was built in 2005, or that's when we started building fiber, so we've been around for a while. Am I too close? No. So we've been around for a while building. We're in 19 different states, 300 communities across the footprint. Minnesota is my home state, and we've built everywhere from Rochester into the metro markets, and we have a signed agreement in Moorhead, Minnesota, so moving up north. And we always are looking for areas to expand and bring fiber optics to communities, right? Again, it is broadband internet and telephone services for both residential businesses as well as our GEM program, which is Government, Education, Medical, and Enterprise. We will build fiber to unique situations, including apartment buildings and different HOAs or private property, okay? A little bit more about Metronet is we are owned by T-Mobile and KKR in a joint venture. So Metronet, we're the builders. Our end product that your residents will see is T-Fiber. That is the marketed product. We closed on that last July of 2025 and really excited about that offering for your residents. Why it's important for Metronet to be willing to make this investment in your community is, one, we are future-proofing your community, right? We offer speeds today of 300 megabits over 300 up to 100 gig. That is a crazy amount of bandwidth, right? And thank you for that. And at any moment, we can adapt and change. I always like to tell people when I started in this business, my Cadillac speed was 25 megabits over 25. Granted, that was 2010, so it wasn't even that long ago. Now we're talking about 100 gig offerings. That's mostly for our GEM, Government, Education, Enterprise customers at this point, but who knows? Once we're in your ground, we're here. I also like to talk about competition because there is a lot of fiber companies out there. And what competition brings is it encourages, the fact that we take care of our network. The fact that when we build it with the future in mind. So we're building it with redundancy built in. We're taking care of your residents, which would be our customers. Customer service is a top priority. And we're always looking at ways we can develop faster speeds and increase, connectivity in your community. Why we have our services and residents in 300 communities is the fact that we care, right? We have 20 years of experience in communities, so we know how to communicate with the cities, with the counties, the municipalities, but more importantly, we know how to communicate to your residents right from the start. We have, I'll touch base on it, our 4-point communication notification service. Because again, we want to connect with these residents and get off on the right foot so they have questions, they know who to contact, and they, look at us as a partner with them. As well as I like this last bullet point here, when we start this project, we are fully funded. So that means the money is dedicated to the City of Bismarck build, and we can go as fast or the speed that is appropriate for the city as well as your residents. In our time here, we've seen a lot of companies take on more than they can, and that's where Metronet really takes time to understand, meet with the city ahead of time, look at the ordinance, do the design properly, as well as take into consideration the restoration and the build time. Bismarck is much like my hometown of Rochester, Minnesota, where it's cold a lot of the year. And so with that, we have shorter build times, which means we're going to be here longer seasons. And so we make sure we take that in consideration when we're making the plan with the city as well. Bringing fiber to your community. It's a long road, right? And we really strive to have that partnership. Metronet will power your homes and businesses for decades, as I mentioned. But what that means is we bring a team with us when we start that project. We're having our local leadership that will be the ones that will work with the city, Gabe and the team at the city. We'll make sure those introductions are there, and Then we'll have our field operations team come in. Those are the guys and gals that will be doing the installations in the homes or businesses in your community. So we'll make sure that the city knows who that leadership is and how to get a hold of them at all costs. And we'll have sales folks here at some point, as well as our special projects team, and that is the team that's going to be here long-term with the city. So once our initial build is done, those folks will move on, but our special projects team will be here long-term to build to those apartment buildings, those new home developments, those new businesses going up. So we are really looking at a long-term investment here in Bismarck. Communication, like I said, we have a full-step process for communicating to your residents that I'll go over, I think, on the next slide. But then we also have a process to communicate internally to your city team. So we'll meet monthly with them. We'll go over any issues we see, any issues we hear, or just really set that pace for communication. So the residents always know that they can reach out to us. Restoration is one that we are really diligent on. We have a website set up for restoration, and residents have we're required to respond to the residents within 24 hours of that initial ticket being opened. And if there is work that needs to be done for restoration, we have the expectation that that's completed in 7 days, or appropriate communication is made part of that. So, if there's cement or something like that, it might take a little longer, but we'll make sure that that resident is communicated every step of the way. And then finally, release. We release to our sales teams for residents as we build, and what that does is just really helps with the excitement of the construction that just took place in their neighborhood. We're rewarding them, usually going in and having some type of community event to celebrate that neighborhood that got released. And it also is a good time for feedback from those residents as well. Maybe they didn't open a ticket, but we damaged something, and so this is a great way for them to be able to speak up and meet us. So we really value that time. The communication notices, as I promised. We really focus on communication before a drill even goes into the ground, right? So 30 to 45 days before any construction, we are going to send them this letter. If they were to open this letter, they're going to find some really good information like frequently asked questions, a QR code, as well as a toll-free number that will go to our MetroNet associates. But it basically, there's nothing sales about it. It is simply saying construction is coming and faster speeds will be there. So this one is always that glitch if they open it. But again, it says construction notice, nothing about sales. Then we have 7 to 10 days. A postcard will come out that says fiber is on its way, that type of thing. Same QR code, same toll-free phone number. 3 to 5 days, this is when they know construction's happening, right? There's flags, there's paint on the ground. We're going to put this out in the right of way. It's going to be, again, a construction notification, same QR code, same toll-free. This one is the one that generates the buzz, right? We get the calls for this one, hey, what's happening, that type of thing. And it's really a good connection point for us and your residents. And then finally, we have the yard sign, or the sign that will be at the entrance and exit of the neighborhood as well. Probably like a realtor type size sign, but that's there permanently. This is that website, that I had mentioned, where residents are able to, where this QR code takes them, they're able to open a ticket there, and that ticket could be like, hey, what's your intention on my property? Or once we get in construction process, hey, you damaged my petunias, and I'd like to have someone come out and take a look. Or it could be, hey, I got a dog fence. I don't want you to hit it. How can I mark it? And though all of those tickets are the ones that I said will be responded to within the 24 hours. We will have a phone call, an email, or in some cases, a knock on the door to address those issues. And it will have frequently asked questions, it will have videos, all of that stuff to help walk them through that. But more importantly, it's a central point for our communication with those residents that is monitored. and we keep track of that. Every month, we will go over with Gabe and the team how many tickets were opened and what those tickets were opened for, so we can make sure that if there is we're seeing a pattern with, restoration issues within a neighborhood or that type of thing, we can immediately change course and take action. This one is also a very important one. MetroNet is easily identifiable. Our crews are branded with no exceptions, right? So our associates will be driving that particular vehicle that you see, the T-Fiber built by MetroNet, and all of our contractors are required to have that same magnet on their vehicle. Everyone will have the T-Fiber badge, the vest, and then the equipment such as drills will also have that T-Fiber built by MetroNet logo on, so everything is identifiable. This is important in today's world because there's a lot of folks out there driving white trucks in our neighborhoods doing work, and we want them to know how to reach us. And then we have field crews supervising in the area throughout the day. So if, like I said, if a ticket comes in that we need to respond to, that's when that knock on the door could easily happen. And that really brings you through that early construction phase. So thank you for your time.
Commissioners, questions? Commissioner Hall?
I have a few questions,
Yes.
but I'll go one at a time in case anyone else does. I guess once built, will there be, you talked about long-term staff. Once built, will there be like a local office or local staff or, such as maintenance?
Yes, that is a really good question. So for warehouse, we will have that for our field operations crew, the guys and gals that will be doing the installations, as well as that special project team that is here long-term to build. We will need space for them as throughout that. As far as a sales office, we won't have a dedicated one there, but they would be able to share that T-Mobile space.
Okay.
Go ahead, Commissioner Risch.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I like the idea of more competition, but as we sit here, Gateway Fiber is pulling cable around the city right now. We have, of course, we have Midco, we've got satellite, we've got all kinds of services now. And my concern is, I know in the agreement, 22-page agreement, it says that if things don't work out in the end, that the city can require you to remove all the above-ground things. Will you actually be bonded in case you just take off, or what's the deal?
Yes, there's strict requirements in that 22-page agreement for just that.
Bonding?
We are
Outside
bonded
bond?
throughout the construction phase.
What's that?
We are going to be bonded throughout the construction phase.
But I mean, after the fact, I mean, as far as taking up your equipment, if you one day left and we said the city would declare, yes, T-Mobile, take up your equipment, and T-Mobile's nowhere to be found, oftentimes we require a bond that we can go to the bonding company and they'll pay for removing the equipment. I'm not, it's probably never going to happen, but that's a common thing. I saw this 22-page
Yeah.
agreement. It looks, maybe Gabe's here. Is it the same as the one we got, pretty much the same as the one we did with Gateway Fiber?
Mayor and Commissioners, Commissioner Risch, by and large, the agreement is very similar to the one we had with Gateway Fiber. We sent it to their attorneys, and they had some minor edits, but the spirit and the intent of the agreement would be identical, I'd say.
Sure.
Other questions? Commissioner Hall?
Let's see. So I'm also excited about competition because I remember when I first moved to Bismarck, there was the website where it's like, oh, you can search all the, there are like 25 different providers that you can search, and put in your address and we'll tell you how many are there, and it's like one. Every time it's just one. So I was wondering about once you're done, about what percentage of businesses and residences are you connecting to?
So the business is part of, we will build the whole city. Businesses, there's areas where, private property, that type of thing, apartments, that we will have to obtain UAAs. So our sales teams will have to go in and get those agreements in place. And once they get those agreements, we will build to them. So we will be able to build throughout the city, even if they weren't initially built to, if that made sense.
Yeah, I guess, Mayor and Commissioners, I guess the goal is to aim for 100% then?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you. keep going?
You can continue.
Okay, all right. I think I've got two more for you, if that's all right. Mayor Commissioners, I know I received an email from a resident a few weeks ago about utility boxes. I looked at the presentation we got emailed. I guess it'll be the next slide, but it looks like all of your, utility boxes, for lack of a better term, are going to be underground.
They're all flush mount, yes,
Okay,
that is
perfect.
correct. So we will have, that's the one that will go in the residents will see, and it is all flush mount. That black circle there does have the MetroNet logo on, and it is a locate puck. So if they do, or should I say when they do put mulch or rock over top, we can still find that with no problem. But why LSAT is important in other markets I've seen where they don't have that name on, and so they have no idea whose equipment that is or who's the owner of that. So everything will have the MetroNet logo on.
Thanks. Mayor Commissioners, last question for you. I guess how do you avoid sprinkler systems?
So when you have a sprinkler system, you go you scan that QR code, you go to our MetroNet website, and you open a ticket and say, "Hey, I have a sprinkler system." We will bring you white flags. We'll teach you how to mark that. But at the end of the day, if we do damage it, we will replace it.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I'm guessing at least half people with sprinkler systems have no idea where their lines are.
Right, and that is yeah. And
Okay.
we just take care of it because it's important.
All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Conley.
I noticed the licensing fees in the contract. The previous one, the other company that was mentioned, they talked about franchise fees. It's nowhere in the contract that I see in your wording. Do you use a franchise fee at all? Because we have other areas within government where franchise in name is a thing, so I just wanted to.
So we are not a cable provider. We offer broadband internet and phone services. So we are a telecommunications company and are not part of that particular franchise.
Okay, I appreciate that. And then second to that, I know the email he's referencing, if it's a residential house and their picture windows are big and things, I don't like their boxes as being one of those things that they see.
Yes.
So even in the case of the black box, if there's any way that you can keep them out of the view of those big picture windows, that would help us a lot.
Yeah, we will put them with like utilities. So wherever their pedestal farm currently is, that's where we will put them. But like I said, we love them flush mount. If residents do, choose to cover them up with their landscaping, the rock or a big rock we've had on, we'll still find it. That's the importance of that locate puck.
Other questions? Go ahead, Commissioner
Just
Hall.
one last question, Mayor Commissioners. Actually, it's for Julie. Did you have a chance to review the agreement?
I think I did, yes. I
Okay,
did.
were there any red flags?
No.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So to respond, so this is almost a duplicate
Sure.
from the Gateway Fiber one. So my only concern is because we've had some concerns with Gateway Fiber, who's in here now, and by the way, it'd probably be any utility that comes through, is A, communication is extremely important, and B, make sure we can live to whatever you say the size of the box is going to be, that it's going to be that size, because I think we saw, or at least I saw a picture of one that looked to be much larger
Yeah.
than what I think the resident was expecting.
And, we really work with the residents. If they want the box moved and we're nimble, we'll work with them, right? And Commissioner Hull, one thing you had asked was 100% of the city overbuild, right? We're being nimble, we're gonna read the room, right? If we're going through a neighborhood that maybe just had a fiber installation this past summer, next spring might not be the best time to go into that neighborhood, right? They really want to see their green grass. They really want to see that. And so we're going to, look at our design and look at what is important to that neighborhood and what is in the best interest of those residents as well as us. So that's where, it might not be completely as laid out because we are going to change to make sure that the residents are taken care of.
Yeah, thank you.
And to address, I think, your question, Commissioner, and this isn't really a question to you, it's more of instead of the franchise fee, it's why we have a licensing fee, because it's how we receive the same tax. effectively.
Mr.
Commissioner
Mayor, I
Rich.
think if you look at one of the slides, the small boxes must be for the individual residents, but you do have bigger junction boxes as well.
yeah,
And that's
those
what I
aren't-
think we saw a picture of that was.
Those aren't going to be, those are going to be in the sidewalks. Those won't be impacting the residents. The handholds would be the ones that would be impacting the residents, the smaller boxes. Yes, those are going to be,
On the boulevard?
yes.
Okay. But
All right. Any other questions? Okay. I will call, this is, open the public hearing at this point in time. Anyone who wish to speak, please come forward. A second call for public comment. A third and final call for public comment. Seeing no one, hearing no one, I'm going to close the public comment period. Commissioners, what are your wishes with regard to this request?
Move to approve.
second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, go ahead, Gabe, sorry.
Yep, maybe just to address one item. I know Jill mentioned that the larger handholds would be in the public right-of-way. I will state that when we approve plans, whether it's for an MDU facility, Midco facility, Gateway Fiber, or MetroNet, if this passes, we look to preserve as much of that public right-of-way as we can for our own facilities. We don't want to have a large 48-inch by 24-inch junction box above our water main or above some of our electrical equipment. So we will, as well as we can, try to push that infrastructure to places that it's out of the way for what we need the public right-of-way to function as well. So unfortunately, that does move some of that infrastructure to the utility easements, whether it's in the front yard, the rear, or some of the side yard easements. So I just want to address that we do preserve that public right-of-way for our own facilities as well. So the concept of these really large boxes in the right-of-way, it might not, if there needs to be a really large box, it might be some combination of right-of-way and some combination of private utility easements on the private property. Similar to Gateway Fiber, similar to transformers and everything else that we see throughout our community.
Sure.
Can I make,
Go, Commissioner Conley.
Do we have a mechanism or like even a sign-off sheet of paper to where the provider talked to, say, the said residents, and there's an agreement that they signed off on it, so we're not all of a sudden contacted and it has nothing to do with us, but here, there's a harder conversation?
Mayor and Commissioners, Commissioner Conley, we do not have that. I mean, on the face of the plat or dedicated through some other instrument, that utility company or that entity was granted a right to put their infrastructure on that property. So really, we could have above-ground transformers along the entire side yard if that's what the utility easement was encumbered. Most utility companies don't go through that exercise because they don't need that much infrastructure. We're appreciative of these items being underground or flush mounted. There's another scenario where this is all above grade and you look down the street and you see pedestals every other house potentially. So we're appreciative of the underground of flush mount concept, which lines well with a fiber optic deployment, but we do not have a requirement we have a requirement, I would say, that the landowner needs to agree to it. They already agreed to it when the original developer granted a utility easement to bring services like this across their property for the service or for the benefit of that property owner.
Well, in retrospect or whatnot, I'm merely talking about the things that are above ground that are visible, so.
Commissioner Risch.
I just want to make a point, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Gabe. And just like the Gateway Fiber contract, this will provide a 2.5% gross, a fee of 2.5% of the gross to the city, correct?
Mayor and Commissioners, that is correct.
Okay. I'm a little bit concerned, people are dropping their cable, and cable has, of course, this tax to help fund Dakota Media Access, and that keeps going down year after year. So maybe in the future, we might have to direct some of that, not your decision, to continue on with Dakota Community Access funding.
We'll be able to address that, I think, at a future time. If
Sure.
we need, we may well need to, but we don't know that for sure when that time comes, okay? All right, I think I had a motion and a second, if I remember right. Do we have any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Dahl?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Hull?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. Moving to item E, to receive a report from the Bismarck Mandan Chamber EDC related to their economic development services and what it means for us as a community to continue to grow.
It's a thick one.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you for allowing the Chamber EDC to come and visit with you a little bit this evening to talk about economic development. We've given plenty of reports over the last several years, and so I know we have some new commissioners at the table. So I wanted to not only give a report on what we're doing and what we plan to do, but also a little bit of information about what in the world is economic development. I think sometimes people think, what is that? Is that a buzzword? What is that? And so my hope is that we can enlighten you on what we have been doing and also maybe educate along the way. And not just for you as mayor and commissioners, but also the general public as well. So I think it's best to start out with, what is the basic definition of economic development? Let's get back to basics and really talk about what is it. It's the intentional efforts of a community to create jobs, increase investment, strengthen local businesses, expand the tax base, and improve the overall economic quality of life for residents. Plain and simple, right? It seems simple, but there are a lot of aspects that go along in there. If you want to summarize that in a really simple saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. You've heard that saying before. So why is economic development important? Why should we care? Why should a city care? Why should we as a community care? Because anytime you're engaged in economic development efforts, it creates and retains jobs, increases the tax base, not just property, but sales tax as well. It helps to attract private investment. It allows us to compete with other communities, not just within our own state, but within our region. We are competing, I will tell you, we are competing with other states to bring business to our community. And then it supports our long-term community growth and diversification. So our current economic development efforts, and some of these things may be new, some of these things you may have heard of in the past, but they are important. So if you take a look at workforce development, that is critical. Some might say, well, when are you going to get us more people to fill jobs? That's not always something that we can do because people have to want to come to a community that has resources and quality of life and those things. But it is important for us as we not only look for new employees to come to our community, but to develop the current workforce that we have by upskilling, by creating a stronger workforce, and by helping to, in essence, train people. Excuse me. We do that by helping out with the educator experience. We work with teachers in the Bismarck-Mandan community to help them get their continuing education credits by exposing them to what is going on in the community. Our Job Shadow Week allows us to expose our students in both the high school level as well as the college level to what the opportunities are in the Bismarck-Mandan community. Our Workforce Development Committee is a focused group of people that live and work in that HR realm who look at best practices and they share those. We have lifted a series of webinars for our employers to access free of charge so that they can do better hiring. They can look at what are best practices in workforce strategies. Leadership Bismarck-Mandan, truly it's a program that has been around for a very, very long time. We see it as a workforce development program. And then Empowering Women in Business is also a skills-based program where we focus on bringing in business leaders, women in the business community that want to upskill their own options. Talent and new business attraction. There's a lot that goes on with talent and business attraction. Viewpoint was a highly produced series. It's something that has been shown nationwide, that came to Bismarck, did some very high-level videos of us in Bismarck and Mandan to talk about what do we have to offer. Those videos have been shown across the country, and we have received phone calls from people who have seen the Viewpoint videos that have said, I want to know more about the community. We are also utilizing them in some of our marketing efforts to some of the smaller communities that we know would have an interest in people or businesses moving to our area. Internship network, that picture there is of a group of young people, interns, who made their way to Bismarck Mandan for the summer. They were interning at Bobcat, NSIC, at the state of North Dakota, perhaps at maybe one of your businesses that you frequent. They were here all summer long doing an internship. They were not all necessarily just from the state of North Dakota. There were NDSU students, UND students, University of Mary students, but there were more students from outside of the state of North Dakota that were here in the community for the summer. We do the internship network so that we can specifically latch onto them and show them that this is the community that they should consider moving to after graduation. We take them out on the riverboat. We take them to Laughing Sun to throw some axes and have some good food. We take them to different areas within the community to show them that there are quality of life options and the things that young people really want to engage in when they're selecting a community. And then finally, the Make Your Mark website. That is a website that is owned by the Bismarck-Mandan Chamber EDC, and it directly drives people to the resources that they can tap into if they're looking to move their business from another location into Bismarck. It has information out there about the industrial park. We are currently working with some folks who have called and said, I was on your Make Your Mark website, and I'd just like to know if you have a section available in the industrial park, the Northern Plains Commerce Center. And so we connected with our city government here, with the staff, and we went out and were able to show them those that area. It's not a data center, don't worry. I don't want anybody to panic about that. But these are good businesses that we want here, and they are certainly great opportunities for us. But the Make Your Mark website is an opportunity for these places that once they learn a little bit about us, they can go out on the website, they can track down information, they can contact us. Our phone rings every day, all day long, and it's not just calls about what hotel should I stay in and can I come there for the McQuaid's tournament. Those are important. But we also get a lot of calls on a day-to-day basis about what would it take to move my business? What would it take for me to move my family to the community of Bismarck? And we want to be there to answer those. Business retention and expansion. Those are specific meetings that Noah and Alex go out and meet with existing business to have a sit-down conversation with them to say, how are things going in your business? What struggles are you having? Because if there are things that we can help them with at the Chamber EDC, we will help put those together, but we have to have those conversations in order to know and understand. And then, of course, our support of the entrepreneurial ecosystem is really important for Bismarck. Business Pitch Challenge is coming up. It's here. We will have our pitch challenge for the first time in the city of Bismarck in October. We are in the midst of reviewing several applications. Commissioner Dahl is assisting us with reviewing those applications and scoring them. We'll go through the applications. The top applications will be invited to the Pitch Night Challenge, where they will be on stage at the Heritage Center, and they'll bring their friends and family, and we'll have judges on stage, and someone that evening will win a $15,000 prize to help lift and move their business forward. And then, of course, 1 million cups. If you haven't been to 1 million cups, I encourage you to take some time out of your Wednesday morning. It happens every Wednesday at 8:30 at Dakota Stage, right on Main Street. And it's an opportunity to listen to all of the wonderful, great ideas with new businesses, existing businesses that want to expand, entrepreneurs who have a dream about what they might want to do. They come to 1 Million Cups to share their story with all the people that are there to listen. So when we talk about economic development, we also can't get so wrapped up in what we have going on here just in Bismarck. Sometimes it's kind of nice to compare ourselves to what other people are doing. And I don't really want to compare ourselves to Fargo and Minot and Grand Forks and Dickinson, because those are our neighbors, and we're not really working on getting business to move from Fargo to Bismarck or Grand Forks to Bismarck. That does happen, but that's not really who our target audience is. When we talk about competition for moving business and people to Bismarck, we're talking about the communities that are listed here. This is just a small sampling of them. Now, what does this mean? Rapid City has a slightly higher population than we do, and they spend more money on economic development than we do. Sioux City, Iowa has a slightly higher population than us. They also spend more money on economic development. But so you might think, well, they have more people, Brenda. That just makes sense. They have more people, so they spend more money. That's not necessarily the case. St. Cloud, Minnesota, less people, but they spend more money on economic development efforts. Eau Claire, Wisconsin, less people, they spend more money than we do in Bismarck on economic development efforts. Appleton, Wisconsin, same situation. Bloomington, Illinois, a little bit more population, but they also are spending more.
When you say spending more, that investment is coming from where?
That investment is primarily coming from their city budgets.
Thank you.
In the appendix of the handout that you received from Alex, you will see the information. We didn't just make this up. We made phone calls. We also gave you the information so that you could go look at their city budget as well. So as we start to dig into that just a little bit more and talk about economic development, we look at the Vision Fund. And before we look at the Vision Fund specifically, I just want to remind you that we also, part of economic development are these letters of support. In 2026, so far, we have brought 14 letters of support to the commission table from the Vision Fund. Those 14 letters of support come with absolutely $0 figure attached to them. They are simply a letter that says, we as the city of Bismarck applaud you, the ABC business, that you want to either expand in our community or you want to bring your business, whatever it is, to our community. You are perhaps filling a gap that we that we need, or it's something completely new and different that we've never had here before. Nonetheless, there is no dollar figure attached to it. We are simply cheering them on and saying, yes, we support you bringing your business to the community of Bismarck. We've had a little trouble with those letters of support in the past where we haven't always approved them fully. They ultimately get approved, but those should be things that, in my humble opinion, are approved with a 5-0 vote at the table, because we should be champions for business. Economic development is important. Economic development helps to drive all of the other things that we need. If we're going to start tackling homeless situations and expanding services for Bisman Transit and all of those kinds of things, we need a strong and steady economy and strong and steady business in our community to help build that base so that we can take care of those other human services kinds of issues. You have, we are your hired economic developer. We receive funds from the city of Bismarck, and we thank you very much. We are very grateful for that. That comes, what you get for that is 4 of us. 4 economic development workforce team members. I include myself in that because I can tell you I spend the majority of my time in that area. We also have a Vice President for Economic Development. We also have Noah, who is working very closely with the Vision Fund, and Mel, who is our Workforce Development Coordinator. So you have 4 dedicated resources, not just to Bismarck, but to Bismarck, Mandan, and the surrounding community. We are here to help do the work that it takes to keep Bismarck rising up. So what about this spreadsheet here? I'm not going to go through these numbers because I don't think that's what's important. What is important is that the city of Bismarck has made a conscious effort over time to say we need to pull out funds from sales tax dollars and set it aside in what we call a vision fund. Now, a few years back, there wasn't an awful lot of people. In fact, there were no people coming to the city of Bismarck asking to tap into vision fund dollars. And the reason for that was because literally everybody could get a loan for about anything at 2 to 3% interest, mostly 2 to 2.5% interest. So as the economy started to change and interest rates started to sort of right-size themselves, we then found that businesses who wanted to expand or come to our community said, we're going to have to start tapping into the Vision Fund. That's where these funds come into play, and that's where my team assists the Vision Fund, which is a committee of the city of Bismarck. People will call us and say, do I qualify? We start working with them to help them understand, are you a business that we even think qualifies? Some don't. Some don't even make the cut to go to the Vision Fund. These dollars, though, I think it's important for everyone to know and understand. The dollars are put in there. They go out to a project in the form of a repayable loan. This is a loan that the city of Bismarck gives at a lower interest rate that allows the business to build, have additional capital so that they can work further with their lending agency to get the proper funding that they need to lift their project. The Vision Fund doesn't give these projects millions of dollars. That's not what that's there for. It's simply some smaller dollar amounts at a lower interest rate to help them present additional funding to their lender. Yes.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner
Brenda,
Risch.
do I read this right? The only amount we loan is up to $107,692?
That is generally.
So you've got a multi-million-dollar business proposition. The idea that we loan them at a lower interest rate, $108,000, that makes an impact?
So that's leveraged because these loans are all to support the Flex Pace buy-down program through the Bank of North Dakota. So it's a 1-to-4 ratio. That's not to say we couldn't go more. We have not had the funds available to do that.
I mean, my question is, so we loan them the $108,000.
Yep.
Eventually, 20, 30 years later, they pay us back the $108,000 plus 2% interest or something to that effect?
They pay it back. Most of the loans are not for 30 years, or like 10
Okay.
for the repayment.
But I'm just struggling because some of these businesses have $20 million plus
Yeah,
projects
these
at
are,
$100,000.
these are probably not supporting the $20 million plus projects.
What's that?
These are not supporting the $20 million plus projects. These are more supporting the, I'll call it small business.
They are definitely small
It's the
business.
ecosystem of Bismarck, Mandan, Burley, and Bismarck and Morton County, frankly, that supports the rest of the businesses.
Commissioner Risch, you still have a question?
No,
Okay.
it just seems like in the business world, that's a pretty modest sum, $107,000.
It is.
At a lower interest rate. It's not even a gift, outright gift, it's a loan.
It's a loan at a smaller interest rate, and we would love to offer them more so that they have additional capital to go to their lender. However, this is the dollar amount that we have in the
But it's
Vision
also
Fund.
leveraging, so it's an interest buy down, so it allows them to go to the bank and borrow $3, $4, $5 million. We have a banker sitting here who actually is the president of the board or the chairman. Who could
Mr. Ailes is with Brevera Bank,
Yeah,
and
could
he is
speak
also
to
the
this.
chair of my board.
As well, but it's a leveraging mechanism. It is not a full funding of the project. It's a leveraging mechanism. I was thinking we have Bank of North Dakota staff in the audience as well, I believe, that could speak to this as well.
Correct.
Yes.
Mayor and Commissioners, Brenda, can you give us any specific examples just to, help Commissioner Risch and myself, visualize, I guess, of specific businesses that have gotten this?
Sure, Commissioner Hall. We've had some restaurants that have applied and received funding. We've had dental offices. We've had small businesses that have applied.
I think you sold it with that first part, because the biggest complaint I've heard from everyone is we need more restaurants. So I think at the very least you get some public goodwill on that one.
Now, I will make this caveat, Mayor and Commissioners. We know that we've just gotten the Vision Fund process kind of to a better place, because it was, it needed to have some process kind of mapped out. We also know that if the funding is stated at the dollar amounts that are on the spreadsheet, we need to be really mindful of who we are handing out Vision Fund dollars to. So we've recently sat down with a group of people to say, what's the top tier? What are the top 3 things that we need in the city of Bismarck? And that's what we're going to go after. We're actually going to go market to those types of companies to come here if we can, or we'll announce to the public, hey, these are the top 3 types of companies that we really want to grow for the city of Bismarck, and we're going to put our efforts, we're going to give them priority over some of the others. Because if we've got gaps to fill, we want to make sure that we're filling those gaps. And it's not just in restaurants, it's other places that we have needs as well.
Yeah, thank you.
So the Vision Fund in its prior life actually would provide funding in a much larger scale. We haven't dedicated the dollars out of the sales tax source, which was providing those. So if we go back 20 years, there were many buildings built within this community with those Vision Fund dollars. For some businesses I don't even know if they're all here anymore, but that's why we're not doing that, because we were probably trying to throw a line out, reel in a big fish that really wasn't going to stay. What we have now happening is a more true the ecosystem for businesses built from the bottom up, small businesses. And it can't be just every business. We've had to be very diligent at the Vision Fund as to where we could say the Vision Fund could fund it, or recommend that we use a letter of support to the North Dakota Opportunity Fund that would then be matched by the Bank of North Dakota Flex Space Buy Down. There's other programs through Bank of North Dakota as well. If the city found it in its wisdom that it had the ability to put $5 million into the Vision Fund, I'm pretty sure we could probably go after some bigger scale projects. I'm not sure that's the right answer.
Yeah, I'm not sure that that's right for the moment right now either. I think if we can focus on some of those small businesses and fill the gaps of where we are missing, would be a nice add to our community. I have a couple of more slides, so if I could get them to put the next slide up. Did you have another question, Commissioner Hall?
Sorry, Mayor and Commissioners. Brenda, out of curiosity, have any businesses we've given funds to via the Vision Fund defaulted on the loan?
I am not aware of any that have defaulted.
Okay. All right, perfect, thanks.
That is a distinct possibility that they could, because these are probably some cases higher risk businesses at times. So, Commissioner Conley, Brenda, because we have questions and this is part of the whole process, I would like to.
I'm fine. I've got all night.
Noted. No, I'm kidding. Well, to answer it wasn't necessarily a default, but when Hartview was going to purchase the one building, we were actually in a city commission meeting and that building got flooded. So they just never finished the application because it wasn't the right fit, and that was the right outcome of that. But hopefully that's the strangest we ever encounter in that process. But when you're talking about gaps in things, I think I can buy into that because I've been very consistent. So if you're looking for that 5-0 endorsement, I think everybody's pretty familiar with what I say. And I was actually more enthusiastic about that. Noah presenting at the last Vision Fund meeting, I watched them all ahead of time, and that was right in line with what I've been saying, is that if it's a nonprofit filling a need that we don't have a lot of resources to meet, I'm going to be more inclined to say yes along those lines, whether it's Vision Fund or even the letters of endorsement for state funding. Also, if it's like the basketball up next to Cashwise, no other competitor out there. It's not like all of the dentist office or all of the chiropractic. Along those lines, they're not competing for employees. I'm more inclined to say yes. When there's more competition, well, it's going to be a little bit harder for me to get to that conclusion that might get a 5-0 vote.
Understood. Thank you, Commissioner Connolly.
Commissioner Risch.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners Brenda, yeah, I follow what Commissioner Conley says. My concern is interfering with the marketplace. We've got 10 dentists in town. We've approved 2 letters of support for 2. I went to have my tooth worked on about 3 days after we did the one on North Washington Street. A letter of support to buy down their interest through the PACE loan fund and I mentioned it to my dentist, and my dentist said, "What? You're helping fund a dentist with public tax money?" And I said, "Yeah, that's the deal. It interferes with the market." I consider myself very pro-business. And when I think of economic development, I think of creating a good business climate. I think of having good public schools, parks, an environment where people want to live and work, and having rules and regulations that are reasonable. That's good economic development. The idea of the government subsidizing one business that's competing with 10 others and not the other 9 is where my concerns come.
Thank you, Commissioner Risch. I don't know if that was a question or.
It was a statement on what my philosophy is.
Yeah,
I think
I
I'm very
understand.
pro-business, and I'm pro-economic development. I'm just not a fan of giving taxpayer money to one business that's competing with 9 others in the same
understand.
marketplace. It creates a competitive advantage for one business. It interferes with the marketplace.
And I think, Commissioner Risch, I think that what we're doing with the Vision Fund currently to outline what are the priority businesses, it will allow us to have a framework in place so that some of these other ones, like the dental offices, may not even make the cut at that point. Right now, we're not. Okay. Well, but we are just actually working on that framework right now. So I think as we start to clean up what we're doing with the Vision Fund and who we're pushing forward, I think we'll address your concern.
Go ahead, Commissioner Connolly.
One last thing that I would say about that, Commissioner Risch, if you haven't watched the last Vision Fund meeting, well, I guess there was one just like right this week. It might be 2 times ago when you presented. Okay, so the last one, you might get some insight with that conversation if you want to watch it, if you haven't already.
And not that I want to beat a dead horse, but honestly, economic development is economic growth. And yes, sometimes there is a business that is competing with another business that might have an advantage because they thought through or made the application. Kudos to them. And we are losing out to other communities in our state if we do not support all businesses to think about using this opportunity to buy down their interest rate. We are seeing millions of dollars depart the Bank of North Dakota for flex PACE buy down and PACE funding going to our true competitors in the state for that. And I hate losing out on that. I want to be the one that has all that brand new real estate or business here, not in Fargo, not in Grand Forks, not in Jamestown, not in Minot.
Those are our sister communities, Mr. Mayor.
I get it, but I don't want to lose out to them when we have the opportunity to have those funds here.
I've got another question for Brenda. Every time we see one of these things, or oftentimes we see, oh, we've got 10 jobs. If we get this financing, we plan on creating 12 more. Does anybody ever follow up to see whether or not they actually created the 12 more? And if they didn't, what happens then? Is there a clawback where we can get our money back?
No, Commissioner Risch, thank you. That is a really good question. That is the purpose, one of the purposes of the business retention meetings that we are holding. We haven't been fully staffed, and we've had a lot of things going on. So when now that we've implemented the business, the BRE meetings as we call them, that's one of the questions that we'll be asking is, so you have been the recipient of funds. This was the application. How are you doing in increasing? Now, we do not have any plan on, it's not written in the contracts that we would take money back, but we definitely will be having those conversations.
Mr. Mayor, one last thing. Brenda, I would just encourage whenever you bring one of these things before the commission that whoever the applicant actually shows up. Sometimes it's just Noah making the presentation, and the applicant doesn't show up. And I appreciate Commissioner Conley pulling this stuff off the consent agenda so we can talk about them. So thank you, Commissioner.
Great. Thank you.
And just in that regard, I've asked because we've pulled so many that they all come on the regular agenda. And since that time, I believe they have, so.
Mayor, Commissioners, can I finish just a few more slides? I'm happy to, like I said, I've got all night. I don't know that you want to stay here all night, but I would like to tell you the rest of the story with economic development. If we could have the slides back up. All right, so I want to assure you, though, that the city of Bismarck is not alone in this. Nobody is expecting the city of Bismarck to pony up endless dollars to do all of these things by themselves. Excuse me. We have community builders that are part of the Chamber EDC, and they're part of this as well. And so our community builders invest in the growth, the competitiveness, and the future success of our region. This is truly a private-public partnership. It's about the city of Bismarck doing their investment as well as our community builders. They're looking at entrepreneurial growth, economic development, workforce development, and community prosperity. Because guess what? If those new businesses are coming to town and they're succeeding, so are the existing businesses. And so to put a little bit of number to that, if this is what it looks like for the Chamber EDC. We have investment levels that reflect their impact. Every level contributes to building a stronger community. We have 91 foundation builders in that category of $500 to $1,499. Some of our smallest businesses who received maybe assistance or maybe a letter of support at some point in time say, not only am I going to invest by paying my membership dues, but I'm going to invest in new business, and I want to be a foundation builder. Impact builders, you can see the different levels that go up there. Visionary builders, we have 8 of them. And so those are 8 organizations in the community in which we live who give annually, they invest $10,000 in addition to their membership dues in the name of economic development. So you're not on your own. I just want you to know and understand this isn't just Bismarck who's trying to do economic development. We need the city of Bismarck to do all the things with the Vision Fund, but our investors at the Chamber EDC are helping us as well and helping our community. And so our civic builders, you are one of them who gives, who invests. You are a civic builder. It is a public-private collaboration, and we're happy to continue to collaborate. And so, Jason, I had to put your fireworks on there, but thank you on behalf of the Chamber EDC and the over 1,200 members that we serve, and really the community of Bismarck and Mandan. Thank you for helping us to move business forward and make Bismarck a better place. I would stand for any additional questions.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, so this last slide, that's individual entities that contribute to the Chamber specifically for economic development.
They
beyond their dues?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Commissioner Conley?
Not incorporated on this slide, what's the base membership for businesses that come?
It really, so the membership depends on what type it is. An individual membership is right around $75. A small business generally starts right around the 300 mark. We are quite low compared to other chambers in the state. I don't want anyone to think, though, that it's all 300. It's based on the type of business and the number of employees and the sector in which that business serves.
Oh, and then there's costs with the mixers and all of the other stuff that.
Sure, there's
Yeah.
sponsorships that our members choose to participate in additionally.
Anything else? Brenda, thank you.
Mayor, Commissioners, thank you so much for your time. I'm happy to come back anytime to continue the conversation.
Item F is to receive an updated information related to the possible City Hall renovation project. Jason?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Just a brief introduction and a little bit of a reminder. About a month ago, the second meeting in July, you received a series of concepts looking at the possible renovations or modifications to this building once Burley County moves out of the first floor. Based on that meeting and the direction that was received from the table, the architects with Endeavor North Design, Cole Johnson to my right here and Nate Hacker in the back, and some of their team retooled the concepts and focused in on option B and option D. Option B is kind of a smaller scale, remain kind of in the same footprint and look at relocating this commission chambers to the first floor. Option D was a little bit more elaborate, that involved an expansion and some additions to the south. Part of the other messaging that we had heard at that meeting in July was a request for some potential funding options of how these projects could be paid for by the city. That information was included in your agenda packet cover memo, but we can certainly talk about that after you hear the revised update from Mr. Johnson. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them. Nate and Cole are here, and then also we've got some finance staff if we get into the gritty details that go along with funding. So with that, I will get out of the way and let Cole fill you guys in. And it sounds like you've got lots of questions tonight, so I suspect we'll have a good discussion on this topic as well. I should note we do not need a final decision this evening, but we are getting closer to that decision time frame where if we are going to act on something in 2027, we probably need to be doing something sooner rather than later to stay on track with that schedule. Otherwise, we could be looking at delaying this project even further. And as we know, time adds cost to just about every project. So with that, I will get out of the way and wait for any questions. You all good there?
I think so. All right. Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor and Commissioners. We'll have a abbreviated presentation from last time, but wanted to hit on some of the key things that we looked at since we were here roughly a month ago. So focusing in on option B and option D, some key bullet points of some of the reductions that we found here. So validating project scope, digging into that with our engineering partners, found some savings there. We looked at our contingency because that was at 20% total. That was 15% general design or general contingency and then 5% escalation. As we dug into the numbers more, we felt comfortable reducing that down to 15% total contingency. So that would be 10% general and 5% escalation. Next bullet point is phase consolidation for the construction, going from an assumption of 3 to 4 phases down to one to 2. That's a 5% reduction there. Since our last meeting, or last time we presented, we got some additional information on hazardous material abatement that had occurred, and we found that the majority or everything that was known has been abated. So we reduced that contingency significantly, just enough to cover anything that might be any unforeseen materials there that would have to be abated. And then the last bullet point is looking harder at our assumptions and allowances for soft costs and furniture and equipment with the direction we received last time and saw some significant savings there, planning to reuse everything that we could for furniture if it was in good shape and it had a place in the modified design. So where we landed on that, this is, the numbers are very small for you there, so you likely can't read that, but the original estimates are up top. Option B was at 26 to 29.6 million. After those reductions, it got down to 23.5 to 25.5 million, with a reduction of 2.5 to 3.5 million there. Option D, we were at 34 to 38 million last time. That is down to 29.5 to 32.2 million, with a reduction of 4.5 to 5.75 million. And then I wanted to hit on a few of the key differences between option B and option D. B is really the base of option D with these 4 primary add-ons. So an enhanced south plaza and south accessible entrance there, those two kind of go together at 1.5 million total there. There's the addition of the south elevator and stair tower, which really cleans up some of the public and private circulation within the building. And then the addition of the chamber and loading dock to the south at 4 million. All those potential scope adds could be added on to be any number of those. And just want to hit on all those are really focused on the more public side of this building and how the public engage with this facility. Real quick recap of option B and option D. Option B is a renovation within the current footprint, make some key improvements, such as moving the chamber up to the first floor, but it'll generally stay similar to this physically. Here's a quick look at that again. Same view that we looked at last time we were here a month ago. Option D is where it extends into the south the lot south of this, with a commission's chamber entry and that stair and elevator tower, and a look at that from the south side here. Another view of that entry, the commission's chamber, and then all of the public-facing parts of the city hall move to that south side. And a look at that commission's chamber. And again, that by moving it to the south side, we'd have a clean, secure line where this really could become an asset for the city, and it could be something that could be used by more than just the commissions that use this space. This is the slide I'm going to end on and then take any questions you have, but this is the guiding principles matrix we reviewed last time. So option B and option D scored against all these guiding principles, and then a weighted average there. This is out of 5 points. And then we have the steering committee score, and this was out of 100 points and was scored against the strategic plan values, the strategic values of the city here. So you can see those two scores side by side, and then the reduced estimates, current state estimates. I'm happy to take any questions that the commission may have.
Commissioners. Go ahead, Commissioner Hall.
Mayor and Commissioners, I guess you in the changes you've mentioned removing a bunch of the furniture budget. I'm guessing unless stuff is getting fully replaced, wouldn't any furniture that's old and needs replacing be already covered under a budget item, so we don't need to budget in this particular project?
That's a good question. The ongoing replacement of furniture, Mayor and Commissioners, I'm not sure. Possibly Jason would be better to answer that one.
Just figure not budget for it twice, especially if it can drop the nominal cost of the project.
And I will say that we reduced it significantly and mainly focused on the spaces that didn't have something comparable set up right now.
Thank you.
Mayor and Commissioners, Commissioner Hull, yeah, we would definitely be looking at utilizing as much furniture as we could. Just looking around this room, these chairs aren't that old. There's no reason to replace them. But in many of the offices, there is fairly new modular furniture that was procured when the building was originally renovated in 2006, and then again in 2007 and 2008, we did floors 2, 3, and 4 respectively. And at that time, a lot of the furniture was new, and much of it is still very appropriate and could be utilized in other locations. The only times we might be compromised is if there were smaller offices and some of the modular office furniture that we have today wouldn't fit. But we have been really good about repurposing a lot of that in other departments and other buildings within the city. So none of it is going to waste.
I was just wondering if we had, I know it's getting nitty gritty and it's not big cost, but it's like if we, what furniture budget was left, if there was, what the reason was, because like you mentioned, like different spaces have different needs versus what we have now.
Yeah, correct. It's primarily focused on those that we went through and saw either a desk that was just probably ready for that replacement, which if it ends up coming out of a different budget, we can keep track of that and reduce it. That's just our kind of best guess allowance, just to have a placeholder for what we think that we'll encounter during this project. Because we don't want to be too optimistic at this point, too, and just assume that there's going to be not going to be any furniture needs.
Sure, thank you.
Commissioner Conley.
2 new buildings went up in our community just a couple of years ago that were the full build-out of schools. And both of them were 14.6 million, Elk Ridge and Silver Ranch. So when I look at these numbers, and even with the reduction, 26 million, that's the same that we just paid for roughly in the category of 2 brand new schools with a lot of space. It's hard to find citizens that can relate to that, even with the inflationary pressures or tariffs and those things. So the needs-based roof, HVAC, elevator, even if it's external to the building, if they're something along those lines, ground floor meeting room. I know our electronics here, we're running low on our transparency. We can't get the microphone replacement electronics, but those are where their needs based. And granted, the first floor would have the same old footprint, but that cost is, even with the reduction, significantly high for my comfort level. So whatever that adds to the conversations.
Thank you.
Cole, my question, if we start at B as the base, which is, you kind of described that, there are add-ons that get us to D, and the biggest one is a complete new chambers structure. If we looked at the south side entrance and accessibility there, and what does that require for the plaza at that point in time, or is the plaza still, I mean, that's a small number in comparison to the whole thing here. It's $500,000, still a big number to me, but compared to 26 million, it's not very big. But is that where are our step offs, or what, when would you add one thing, what triggers the next, or are there any triggers?
Yeah,
Adding the 4 different options, let's put it that way.
I would say that if you move into that south side, some type of plaza, and it's a $500,000 add, because if in the other options we looked at the periphery of this existing building and needing some accessibility upgrades and some other code required upgrades. So if we go into the south side, basically we're shifting that investment to the south side and improving that lot more. I think at that point the south entry makes a lot of sense. So those two going together. After that, it could be just the commission's chamber. It could be the stair and elevator addition. Each of those could go independently. So I'm not sure, Mayor, if that answers.
You maybe did. So maybe I could ask it a different way to get it. If the thought process would be, and I don't know what this commission's going to want to do yet, would be that option B was the starting point, and we created the south accessibility entrance, and we added the south elevator and stair tower, because I believe from an accessibility standpoint, those are two critical components. What, I'm assuming that the plaza would have to happen at the same time, or any of those that are, maybe it's a better way is, which one is most important? If I look at this building, from a usability moving forward, knowing we have to look at this for 50 years. So I already kind of have an answer in what I think the 50-year answer is, which is probably a number I'm going to swallow very hard on, because I know what that answer probably is.
Yeah. And Mayor and Commissioners, I'll clarify, the elevator needs to be replaced either way. So in B or D, it's being replaced. It's just where it's being replaced. So the accessibility will be improved regardless, between B and D for the building. By having everything on that south side, everyone that's coming in from the public would walk in the door, go to the elevator and stair right there up to whatever they would need to be. So there's I guess, handicap accessibility, and there's a ease of navigating this building and accessing the services that you need, kind of accessibility.
Okay, so moving them makes it easier. If they stay where they're located, it's maybe more difficult to navigate, but we still have the same accessibility to all floors. Just they kind of navigate a hallway to get to it if we have the south side entrance.
Yeah, absolutely. So you'd be navigating into that existing stair and elevator, finding your way to the floor.
That helps me.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Commissioner Hall.
Mayor and Commissioners, Cole, on option D, I see there's a public entry on the east and west sides of the building, but I thought the only public entry was going to be on the south side to make it, a nice, pretty lobby, and then, make it nice, best use for all, visitors and staff. I was just wondering about that, especially the existing west side entrance.
Yeah, that is Mayor and Commissioners, that's a good catch. That's a typo. That was in a previous staff entry only on the sides, so that's a good catch.
All right, thank you. One more?
Sure.
Mayor and Commissioners, Cole, the other question I had was, I mentioned it last time, I don't know if anyone else supported, but I was just wondering, was there any exploration of, other energy efficiency investments we can make? Because this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity and investment we're going to do, so I'm personally like, if the initial price tag goes a little high, it's like investing in ourselves. If the savings pay for the difference or themselves in 5 to 7 years, I'm good with that. So wasn't sure if there's, investigation of, high reflectivity material for the roof or extra insulation or windows, what the cost benefit analysis is for that.
Mayor and Commissioners, a couple. So windows and insulation are assumed right now. There's no insulation in the current walls. Windows they need to be replaced or should be. It's a hard thing to say exactly what's the ROI. I don't want to oversell something if it's a tough thing to say exactly what that will be. When you look into mechanical systems, we have some assumptions on what those will be. Often we'll dig into other energy efficiency mechanical systems and we'll look at geothermal, and it just doesn't happen anymore because of the incentives that were around for a while aren't there anymore. It's a good premium for that extra energy efficiency. We can get you an answer, or try to get you as best of an answer we can with our mechanical engineers on current state versus replacement of HVAC systems and what that improved efficiency will be and ROI on that. But I don't have that for you right now.
Okay. Yeah, I figured we were getting improvements on the HVAC. I was just wondering if there are any other, efficiency improvements we could investigate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Conley, and then I'll come back to Commissioner Dahl.
Mayor, Commissioners, we had for a while a consultant or a vendor talking to us about lights and efficiencies over time and a replacement. I remember Steve talking about that. And the cost of the fixtures over time versus how long it would take to really see some of those benefits, I think we stopped it at one point too, didn't we?
Yeah.
And
it wasn't going to the numbers weren't looking so great for
And it
return on
wasn't that
investment.
long ago.
Yeah, it was like in the last 2 years.
Could I just mention one thing on that? I think your light fixtures are actually having other issues too, where bulbs and replacement parts are becoming an issue too. So
There will be
there's-
some required
There- yeah, they'll-
replacements no matter what, but.
Yeah.
Commissioner Dahl.
As far as the funding goes, there's a lot of community benefit to the space to the south side of the building. Is there opportunity to look at not city funds? I know it's small in the grand scheme of things, but is there an opportunity to look maybe to our downtown community who would benefit from having this space as a funding source?
I think that's still open. We haven't even got to that point.
Gotcha. We're talking about numbers here, and when we're having these conversations, we're talking about them and in terms of all of the money coming from the city budget, right? And this is, if we want to sell this as a community space, which I think it is an excellent use of the community space and something that we need to look to the community.
There could be some opportunities that we can talk about, I think, of naming rights maybe or something to that effect, but that gets a little difficult on a public building, I think.
I'm not talking to the point of naming rights, but.
But that's the concept of what you're doing.
Right.
So I don't know I think we have to figure out if we can, go forward. And if there's a way to secure some donations towards something in that plaza area or wherever, that becomes a secondary question.
I'm a little reluctant to put Ace
Yeah.
Company, City Hall.
Me
You
too.
saying you're not doing a letter of support for that?
To be clear, I wasn't talking about that, Commissioner. I was more so thinking, brick, buy a brick, something that is a little more integrated into the design that's not flashy business A owning our city building.
It's certainly something we can get into if we get to that point, I think.
I was just going to voice support for Commissioner Dahl's idea.
So I guess the question I have is, what's the point at which we have to make a decision to move forward so that 2027 becomes a year of action, so to speak, even though we won't be doing any work construction-wise, but can start the process for bidding and so forth?
Yeah, I would say our original schedule had us starting in October, which that was basically a decision now or by now to set up contracting and start that work in October. There is some buffer in there, so I would say 2 weeks, 4 weeks, very doable. If beyond that, it's still doable too, but we want to leave enough time during the design process to analyze value and make decisions and pivot as needed as more and more is decided. So I do want to hit on the value of not crunching that design process too much, but 2 to 4 weeks is very doable. If beyond that, it's something we can absolutely work around too.
So my question go ahead, Commissioner Conley.
Well, one last thing that I talked with Jason about earlier today is, did any part of the concept, because like a lot of the churches that I go to, they've gone less of a raised front area, and they've gone more of an angle to where they angle the chairs to help that viewscape too. So at a slow descending, so it's not problematic for balance and things, but if those concepts can be investigated, I guess.
Mayor and Commissioners, that would absolutely be something that we would dig into and review. I would say that a downside of that is just the flexibility of the space is reduced. So a space like this, you can clear out chairs and use it for some other event if you wanted. Having those slope floors really limits the multifunction aspect of the space, but it does improve visibility.
Okay, so my question to you commissioners is do you wish to wait for 2 weeks, 4 weeks? That's probably the timeline. You wish to give guidance now? I mean, I'm up to whatever. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I'm looking at the cover memo, and it lists all these different places for money to pay for the building. I'm a little bit confused with it, and it says fund balance policy of 40% would need to be, the approved in 2020 requires the unassigned fund balance threshold to be held at 40% of general fund expenditures. If we say, oh, well, this is a great plan on how to fund this, does that drop our reserves below the 40% threshold? That's my question.
Great question. I'm glad you brought that up because I meant to bring it up earlier, and it's not a question for Cole. It's actually a question for our finance team. So who, Ryan or Eric, who's on the? I probably already pushed this one on him, so to evaluate it.
He's the money guy.
Excellent question, Mayor, Commissioners. That fund balance policy that we're looking at and in the memo on how we talk about kind of finding where the money would come from, that 40% it's in there and it's stated in the memo as 40% of general fund expenditures, but actually how it's in our policy is 40% of general fund expenditures, including capital projects and debt. So the debt funding that we have in there, so financing or the money in there. So there's a couple ways you could go about it, but it would need some restructuring if we were going to be able to tap into some of that funding. One would be just a reduction in the percentage, if we change that percentage down to a smaller number underneath 40. However, another way we could go about doing it is just kind of addressing the 40% of what number discussion and not including the debt financing, the debt payments in there, that would bring it down, and additionally the one-time expenditures. So if we were to change that language to 40% of operating or ongoing operating expenditures, that would bring that number down currently by about $7 million, just because of the top end of that number that we're measuring that 40% against is including everything right now, and it, depending on how we want to look at it, that's the discussion that we would have to kind of adjust that fund balance policy.
Mr. Mayor, so what about is our current reserve, rough number?
So it's an excellent question, and I have Eric here, but I was anticipating that question, so I think I can get you an answer without having to rely on him currently. But we have our ending fund. At the end of 25, it was right just shy of $32 million in the unassigned. That's the unassigned balance of there, was about $32 million. If we were to take that 40% of the operating budget, not the top line budget, but the number that I'm saying is just ongoing operating expenditures, that would be about just shy of $25.5 million. That 40% of that ongoing operating number would be about $25.5 million. And so that would be, that right there would give us I think we have 6.2 in the memo, but that would be about $7 million that would generate in available reserves.
Now, does that include all expenditures, including the public utilities and things of that? No.
Nope.
Those are separate.
We're talking general fund expenditures.
Commissioner Conley.
Well, just a question, Mayor, Commissioners. When I was first appointed before getting elected, we did set aside some ear-tagged money for the police station out of a reserve, and that was prior to the 3/10 sales tax. Has that been moved anywhere else, or is that still there?
It's still sitting there, which would be part, if you go through the memo, it's identified in the memo, that's part of the dollars that could be used towards a capital project or to be moved to unassigned, I guess, or uncommitted. That takes action of this table to do that. But yes, the 5 million, because we didn't know that we were going to have the funding for the police station when that was established. I think it was in 2023.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, yes, that $5 million is included in that memo, and it is included in an assessment of where the funds would come from, and that is also, there was also $5 million for this building committed by you as the commission, and included in there is an action that you would have to recommit the money to, since we found other funding, or we had other funding for that $5 million, we'd have to recommit that committed fund balance to this building.
And then I will also add that when the 40% fund balance reserve policy was set, I was actually pushing for a lower number then, because I believe 3 months of operating expenses is certainly an adequate number for our reserve to be maintained. I don't want to drop right to that number because we know we have inflation and we have to be able to handle that. And we don't know that property taxes coming forward will always maintain with inflation. So, but I think our policy in my review of many, many financial statements throughout the nonprofit world and government world has a reserve requirement that is higher than is necessary. And Ryan and I have had that conversation in the last 2 months since he's been on board, and I think he agrees with me, actually.
Mr. Mayor, but it would come in handy with all the projects we have if we had higher reserves. I mean, certainly, we've got the airport, 130 million, 100 million with the
But those are all.
police station.
But the police station has got a funding source.
Sure, it does, it does.
And the airport will not go forward without other funding sources. It's not going to be fully funded from city dollars, so.
We've got 5.8
And
million to the.
and we do have those items that, where we do have contribution coming from the city general fund already set aside.
But there's a long list.
There's a long list.
Possible recreational facility, that might be something. I don't know, there's just a whole lot of things in the pipeline.
I'm not disagreeing, I'm just.
And as a city, the school district needs more money to upgrade their schools, that's 117
But
million.
that's not our budget.
It's not, but it's part of our community's.
Which is why we
citizens'
cannot do
cost.
this as a property tax levy.
Okay.
I would not stand for that.
Pretty soon, we're talking a lot about some real money here, tally it all up.
We could just do nothing, which, I mean, that's a possibility, but our HVAC system in this building is daily, it's on Band-Aids and chicken wire.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to proceed with number 4. What is it? Issue 4? No, what do we call it?
Option 4.
Option 4. We might as well proceed with.
Or D.
We're going that direction anyway, unless somebody's got an objection to it.
Commissioner Conley.
I would like that bare bones for needs to just as a comparable.
Can you clarify for me?
HVAC, roof, elevator, whether it's in the existing space or external, ground floor meeting room, whether it's internal, external, and then the electronics, because we know what we're on.
So I think that is option B, basically.
Okay.
And as much as I like that number much better, I do not see that as the best answer for the community for the next 50 to 60 years, unfortunately.
Mayor, Commissioner Conley, I believe what you were asking for is actually option A that we previously took off the table, which was the minimal.
But that wouldn't move,
Correct.
that wouldn't move the commission chambers to main floor.
Gotcha. Understood. Right.
So
So Commissioner Conley, are you asking to not vote on this tonight and ask for additional information from the architect? I guess I'm confused.
I don't think we need to vote on it, we just need to give direction, don't we?
I think we aren't accepting bids yet, so I don't know. We're just probably giving direction to, so that they could start the process of, it's a good question. I don't know legally what our obligation is here. I don't know that answer.
Mayor and Commissioners, I guess the purpose of a decision is to provide the design team direction on how to move forward. We're getting to a point where they've done this work, and without clear direction on where to go forward, we're really just kind of spinning our wheels here. So if there is a decision tonight.
It'd probably be best if it was in the form of a motion, to be honest.
I was just going to say the same thing. For clarity, for the record, having a clear motion and a direction to move forward would be appreciated. I don't know that we've got 100% consensus here, but if you need more time and more information, we certainly understand that we can do our best to come back with that and try and answer those questions too.
I'm waiting for, I guess it's up to the commission here. If someone wants to proceed with a motion, I think we kind of had one, but it wasn't formal.
I'll move we proceed with option D.
I'll second.
Okay. I will open it up for discussion.
In that case, if we're going to vote on option, I'll have to step out due to conflict of interest with one of the contractors.
Okay, then I'm going to ask you to actually leave the table for this particular action, please. Okay, now I'm going to open up for discussion. If we have further, go ahead, Commissioner Conley.
I'll vote that you can talk about it, but at 23 to 26, my vote will be no million. So just on the front side of things.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Could you clarify, please, Mr. Conley?
On the, sorry.
Are you looking at trying to find the table, Commissioner?
No, my screensaver went dark and it's not coming back to me. Like on the option B, the project total cost, 26 million. And then on then the next lower one, unless I'm reading it wrong, 23 million for total costs.
So the top of that slide was the original estimates. High and low for option B was 26 to 29 million. The refined number now, after the architectural firm having done some work, is 23.4 to 25.5. I'm rounding.
Right.
Versus option D was 34 to 38, and the refined numbers now are 29.5 to 32.2.
Okay, well, still, at 23 million, my vote will be no. So if the conversation goes forward, just letting you know, I'm okay to say yes to the conversation, but that's where I'm at.
So I think, if I understand the motion correctly, the motion is to ask staff and the consultants to move forward for planning for option D.
Which would exceed that number.
Well, but, so that's fine, I'm just trying to understand. Your comment is if it's more than option B, you're just explaining why you're voting. Okay, I understand. Any other discussion? The only comment I'm making is I like the dollars associated with option B because it just feels a little more within budgetary appropriate dollars to spend. However, if I look forward to 50 years from now, which this building will still be in use for, option D is a much better plan because it will satisfy the growing community, and as we probably look at having a room that can hold more people for public hearings, it'll be more appropriate. So I'm just going to make that comment. That explains why I'm voting the way I'm voting. So I'm going to call roll.
Commissioner Dahl?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes?
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. Carries. All right, thank you for the discussion, and Cole and Nathan, thank you for the information. It's been helpful. We know you we made you do some work. Thank you. Item G is to consider a request from Burley County to terminate the 2004 Emergency Management Joint Powers Agreement and a proposal to reduce the Burley County obligation for the annual lease cost for the Emergency Operations Center facility, portion of that facility. So we have a representative here, so Ms. Lawyer.
I guess that's me. I'm Julie Lawyer. I'm the Burley County State's Attorney. I provided a letter along with the proposed agreement that the Burley County Commission had adopted for your consideration. Basically, the way we're looking at it is that with the joint powers agreement being terminated, which it will be terminated January 1, 2028, regardless if we agree to it or not, that is where the split in costs is in the joint powers agreement. And the agreement that we have now is the city covers 75% of the cost of emergency management function. The county covers 25% of the cost. Reason for that, my understanding is because that's how the population of Burley County is kind of split. 75% of the population resides in the city of Bismarck, and the remaining 25% lives outside of the city of Bismarck. So the reason that the Burley County Commission came up with that as a proposal is for the rent for the facility that we no longer occupy, 25% of what we're paying would be what the outside of the city of Bismarck taxpayers are paying for, and so that's where they came up with that number.
So I actually tend to disagree with the math because you're only paying 25% of the lease right now, so that's cutting it by another 75%, putting that much more burden effectively over the life of the lease, a $700,000 burden onto the city residents of Bismarck, which should be shared because it's not our choice that Burley County exit the lease. It is Burley County's choice, and under normal leasing circumstances, and this is a joint and severable liable agreement, you're on the hook. And there could be a nastiness, which I wish not to have.
Agreed.
So $73,000 is the annual lease payment that Burley County is making. That stays in place.
Well,
as
that's
far as I'm
pursuant to
concerned.
the joint powers agreement.
But you also signed the lease.
Correct, as did the city of Mandan, and the lease does also contain CENTCOM, Central Dakota Communications, of which Burley County is
Not
part.
for that portion. The CENTCOM is funded all through CENTCOM. Go ahead, Commissioner
Mr.
Risch.
Mayor, Julie, what if
Yes.
Bismarck and Mandan both decided to exit the agreement and leave as well? Do you think the building owner would just go along with it? Oh, we built this for you, and you got a commitment to 2040. That'd just be okay? You think you'd just step aside and say that was okay?
That's not the lease. The lease is 3 lessees. That would be the city of Mandan, the county of Burley, and the city of Bismarck. And so that doesn't say anything about how costs are going to be split among the 3 lessees. The joint powers agreement is what covers who's paying what costs per that lease.
But the fact is Burley County did agree to this joint powers agreement through 2040. And now you came up with some sort of number, $19,000 a year. Where'd that come from again? I don't understand.
It's 25% of the 73%. I did the math. I know how they got to it.
So Burley County entered a joint powers agreement in 2004 regarding emergency management functions. According to that 2004 joint powers agreement, the location for the emergency management function was going to be at the airport. And when that changed and a lease agreement was signed for the combined communication center and emergency management to go to the new building, that joint powers agreement was never updated. So per the 2004 joint powers agreement, our joint office is at the airport.
Commissioner Dahl.
But the city or the county of Burley County signed the new lease agreement, correct?
Correct.
So they are aware that they were going to the new location, and in fact, they were housed there up until recently when they chose to leave that entity, correct? Okay.
Commissioner Hall.
Mayor and Commissioners, what point does the Burley County Emergency Management Department, have they already left that building to the Provident Building, or are they moving later?
No, they've already vacated the building.
At what point, when did they vacate?
I believe it was June.
Of this year?
Yes.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
End of May or first part of June.
Correct, something along those lines.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to talk about the furniture, our joint furniture. You've run off with all our furniture? The county did?
So we had a meeting regarding the furniture, and basically what was decided, because the furniture was purchased either through the emergency management function, which is governed by the Joint Powers Agreement regarding who's paying for what cost, 75%, 25%. And then there were grants that were obtained as well. And so what we had discussed was whoever was responsible for the grant, who's ever got the property on their inventory for grant purposes, then that would go with that entity. And then what was purchased under the Joint Powers Agreement would be split 70-25, just as it was paid. There was a lot of equipment that was left at that facility that's affixed to the walls and things like that, and so there was a lot of property that was left.
There is clear legal lines to the equipment that Burley County has with them that was secured through grant funding through the county, through the state, or some line like that. The grant was applied for under Burley County to the state of North Dakota that paid for that equipment.
Sure, but it was for this
It was
joint
for
entity.
it was for it, but I would tell you that I know how grant funding works. It's got to follow the grant or the grantee, and that's where it went. I'm more concerned about the lease because that's a big number. That's $700,000 back on the citizens of Bismarck. And pretty sure that when this lease agreement was signed, all parties thought we were all going to be there together. The intent was always to be together. And that, I mean, I know where my position is. I'll let the rest of the commissioners decide. But we've received the request at this point in time. I will acknowledge that.
Do you want us to officially reject it?
We certainly can.
Well, I'll move we reject the request in its entirety.
I'll second.
Do I have further discussion?
I guess I have a question for either of the Julies of if we do reject, what happens next?
Then we'll give written notice that we want to terminate the Joint Powers Agreement from 2004.
Okay.
And that would end January 1, 2028.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Commissioner Conley.
Well, I work really hard to keep that communication between the county and the city, but I have to agree with the city's position on this one.
Okay, I have any other discussion? I'll call roll.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Hull?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Dahl?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. Item H. Bid award. Steve.
Beat. No, we get to shoot.
Yeah.
Beat.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Last week, Wednesday, we opened bids for our salt, sand, and beat heat for the 2026, 2027, and 27-28 winter seasons. We received 2 bids for salt, we received 2 bids for sand, and 2 bids for the beat heat. However, one vendor for the beat heat did not meet the specifications, and so their bid was rejected. The low bidder for the salt was NSC Minerals for a unit price of $123.73 per ton for the 26-27 winter season and $127.45 per ton for the 27-28 winter season. The low bidder for the sand was Knife River Corporation for a unit price of $23.49 per ton for the 26-27 winter season and $24.29 per ton for the 27-28 winter season. The low bidder for the beat heat was K-Tech Specialty Coatings for a unit price of $2.95 per gallon for the 26-27 winter season and $3.45 per gallon for the 27-28 winter season. We are recommending that the salt contract be awarded to NSC Minerals, the sand contract to Knife River Corporation, and the beat heat contract to K-Tech Specialty Coatings for their respective bids for the bid prices for the 26-27 and 27-28 winter seasons. I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Are there any questions? Go ahead, Commissioner Hall.
Mayor and Commissioners, Steve, I know I've been reading in the news, about Target just got $1 billion in, refunds for tariffs, and Walmart got like $4 to $5 or $6 to $7 billion. Are these these contractors, are they, because you mentioned, rightly so, to plan for tariffs in here. Would these people be getting refunds from tariffs if, we get hit with the tariff initially? Can we share the if they get the rebate? I'd really like it if we could get that savings because we're the one that paid the tariff, essentially.
Mayor, Commissioner Hull, we could probably write that into the contract, that if we end up paying the tariffs, that the tariff of the, and they would get a refund on it, that would get refunded back to the city.
I greatly appreciate that.
We can do
Robert.
that.
Thank you.
Good idea.
Okay, anything else? So Commissioner, go ahead, Commissioner.
I move to approve with the amendment proposed by Commissioner Hull.
Second.
Any discussion? Steve, do you have enough directions on how to write the contract based on that?
I do,
Okay.
correct.
Okay, thanks. We'll call roll.
Commissioner Hull?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Dahl?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. We're to other business. Does anyone have other business this evening?
Well, I just want to give another shout out to the Reuse It store at Public Works. We're rebuilding, repainting our county or country church out in the country, and I was at the Reuse It store several times. I got about 10 gallons of paint, helped greatly in painting the church. And I just want to encourage citizens, if you've got paint that you're not using and not going to use, it's still good paint, you bring it to the paint or herbicides, pesticides, automotive stuff, electronics. The Reuse It store will accept it if you're a Bismarck citizen. And as a Bismarck citizen, you can go ahead and take whatever you want. It's a wonderful service to our community. It keeps a lot of stuff, nasty stuff out of our landfill. We've got some good troops out there, Alicia, Travis, and Gavin, so I'm one of their best customers, so kudos.
Any other business this evening? Go ahead, Commissioner.
The open house for the feasibility studies tomorrow night at, I believe is it Public Works.
Yep.
And I believe it's 6:30 to 8. Is it? Yep. So I would encourage anybody and everybody that has a position, whether you agree or not, we want all input, so we can go forward.
And that's on the sports and community recreation facility discussion.
Yep, and it's on both of our websites as well.
Thank you, Commissioner, for bringing that up. All right, no other business. We are adjourned.